Remember, in 2021, interest rates were at their lowest level ever while valuations were rising. People felt richer because their stock prices were rising. People felt richer because their home prices were rising. And it's the same for corporations because now the valuations and net worth of these corporations were also rising. This is seen on a corporation's balance sheet. Like how you feel your net worth is rising, well, corporations value their net worth off of something called their balance sheet. So now corporations saw that interest rates were the lowest ever and their valuations were rising. So now what they did is they went to the bank and they said, hey, bank, look at our balance sheet. Look at how much we're worth and look how much cash we have in the bank. Would you be willing to loan us some money? Now the bank might say, sure, we will give you an additional $400 million loan. Now the corporation has $1 million in the bank. They got this $400 million in debt from the bank. Now they can take all $500 million and give it to the shareholders and do even more share buybacks. These are called levered corporate buybacks. And not only did we see corporate buybacks hit a new record in 2021 and 2022, but we saw levered corporate buybacks also break a brand new record. Now here we are in the beginning part of 2023, and let me tie this all together because now we have a lot of corporations that don't have a lot of savings in the bank, and we're seeing revenues slowing because the economy is slowing. People don't have the same ability to spend because inflation is high, so people have slower spending ability. But this is where things get even more interesting. We're also seeing costs rising for corporations, not just because of inflation, but because of debt costs. See, when you go out and get a mortgage to buy a home, you could get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage in the United States. But most corporations don't get 30-year mortgages when they borrow money. See, most corporate debt is not fixed rate debt. It's some sort of variable interest rate debt. Maybe it'll have a 1-year term or a 5-year term, but then after that term expires, the debt readjusts. And today in 2023, interest rates are significantly higher than they were in 2021, which meant that you have all these corporations borrowing up more money than ever before because interest rates were dirt cheap in 2021. And now corporations are seeing their revenues fall, and then they're looking at their debt levels and they're saying, oh no, our debt is very high. And not just that, our debt payments are going to start rising at some point in the future because over the next 12 to 36 months, we're going to see much more of this corporate debt readjust at the higher interest rate. And so now corporations are starting to get worried about these higher costs, not just because of higher inflation, but because of higher debt servicing costs, because the payments on their debt are going to rise because interest rates are rising. So you have many corporations now that are trying to figure out what to do. They're trying to spend more money to pay down this debt sooner rather than later, because as more and more of this debt readjusts over the next few years, well, then their payments are going to significantly rise, even if they don't take on more debt, because the cost of servicing the debt, the interest rate on their debt is so much higher today than when they originally took out the debt. So now you have costs rising and you also have revenues falling, which is putting corporations into a tough situation, which is causing more and more corporations now to cut costs and do layoffs. Now these layoffs also have a trickle effect because when a corporation does a layoff, that means somebody else doesn't have the means to now go out and pay their mortgage. Somebody else doesn't have the ability to go out and continue spending money, which also further hurts the revenue. Now, typically in the past, when you have an economic slowdown, the Federal Reserve Bank would be able to come in, cut interest rates and stimulate the economy, but you were able to do that in previous recessions, like in 2020, 2008, and 2001, because, well, inflation wasn't a problem prior to the recession. Here we are today, where inflation is already a problem, so for the Federal Reserve Bank to stimulate and inflate our economy is not so easy. This puts us where we are today, which is why now you want to pay attention not just to this, the economy slowing, but also to what's going on with debt costs, because this debt burden for corporations is going to become a much bigger and bigger problem in the coming years as more and more of this debt starts to readjust. Now, of course, we'll be keeping you updated on market briefs, which is why if you haven't joined yet, make sure you do that. But this is why it pays to be financially educated. That way, one, you can stay up to date on what's happening, and also that way, two, you can capitalize on opportunities that might come your way. If you enjoyed this short clip from my longer videos, here's another clip that I think you'll love. And while you're at it, if you're interested in learning more about how to start generating passive income, our team put together an amazing guide on how to start generating passive income for free. All you got to do is click that button right over there. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep hustling.